How's it going, guys? Welcome back to TheBuffNerd. If you are a new watcher, welcome. I hope you enjoy the content. If you're a returner watcher and you are not yet subscribed, please subscribe. Go ahead and hit that button so that you can show support to the channel, and also you can keep up with all the crazy stuff that I got going on when it comes to my job as a wireless admin, and how I'm gonna progress from here. What's new, guys? So as you guys know, I told y'all that I owe y'all a video when it comes to talking about what my day-to-day job is when it comes to being a wireless administrator / engineer. So what is it that I do? What I do is I do everything. So this is one of those jobs that's not very constrained. There's not a lot of red tape everywhere. When it comes to wireless, I do everything wireless. So as I told you guys before in a previous video, when I was a network engineer, but there were a lot of lines, there were a lot of things that I couldn't do because this particular company that I was with had somebody for every task. It was a separations of duties kind of situation, and it essentially landed me in a role where I was doing something very specific, and I wasn't learning anything or touching any new platforms or anything along those lines. So I ended up going to the job that I'm at now as a wireless admin. And I do everything at this job. We do everything from design, configuration, to maintenance, and then upgrading. So we do all of it. And what I was gonna do with this video is I was gonna talk to you guys about some of the stuff that I do and how exactly I go when it comes to designing a network all the way up to, getting the equipment installed. So, of course, in every situation like this, it starts off with the customer. You know who the customer is. The one that doesn't make sure that his device is plugged in before he calls the help desk. The one that accidentally unplugs his monitor and then demand that we get him a new one. The one that literally every Wednesday on the dot lock themselves out of their computer and ask us as the help desk admins and engineers to reset their password. It starts with them. So first thing that would happen is, of course, they would send the ticket up to the help desk. The help desk would talk to whatever channels they need to talk to and then send it up the ladder so that everything could, all the checks and balances could get done. And once it's approved, then they send the ticket to us, the wireless team. So the first thing we have to do in this situation is conduct a site survey. Now, a site survey is one of the lower level things, or one of the lower tier things that you do when it comes to wireless, and that's the whole design portion of it. So a site survey can be a couple of things. So there are 3 different types of site surveys. There's predictive, there's passive, and there's active. These 3 site surveys are something I'm growing to be very familiar with, and this is where it starts. It usually starts with a predictive site survey. So before we can even do that, what we need to do is, after we get the ticket, we reach out to the customer like, hey guys, now that we got this ticket, we need you guys to give us a list of information. We need to know the exterior material of the building. We need to know the interior material of the building, which is the walls and everything between the different rooms. We need to know what kind of location this is. Is it a warehouse? Is it just office space? Is it a field of any kind? Like how high are the ceilings? We need to know all that information. Excuse me. And we need to know if you guys already have access points available, or if we have to make a healthy suggestion on your behalf. In some of these situations, we run into some people that just can't get us that information. So what we have to do is we'd have to do a walkthrough. So we would have to physically go down to the site, and we would have to take a look around and see exactly the different kinds of walls and obstructions and everything along those lines are. When it comes to this particular building, some areas where they may not need a site survey done, and we get that information that way. Now, before I go any further, we're going to talk about some of the platforms that you could use in order to conduct site surveys. So there's a couple of different platforms you could use. There's VisiWave, there's NetSpot, there's Aeromagnet, I think, and there's EconHow. According to the wireless world, EconHow is one of the top tier platforms you can use in order to conduct these site surveys and create heat maps and survey reports. So all of this is being done in EconHow. I was going to show you guys this platform, but unfortunately, because of licensing, I can't just log into it whenever I want to and show you guys this stuff. And the device that I have this on is something work related, and I'm gonna, of course, not show you guys that because you guys know, I'm G14 classified, so I can't be showing you guys, all of that information. But anyways, the point is, so all of this is going to be done in EconHow. And what they're going to do is they're going to send you the floor plan, and they're going to send you all that other information that I just told you about. What you're going to do is you're going to take that floor plan, you're going to put it in EconHow. First thing you're going to do is you're going to scale it. Scaling it basically lets the program know how big the place actually is, and you know how far along down those walls actually are when it comes to this particular location. Because you know, if you got a bad scale, then you could put one AP down in EconHow and it'll propagate signal throughout the whole building. So you got to make sure that you scale it right. One way to do this is using a doorway. Most doorways are about 3 feet, 3 feet wide, and you could use that in order to scale the entire building. So doing that should help the program understand exactly how big your map or area of operation is. From there, what you're going to do is you're going to draw in walls. And this is this part is kind of tedious, because what you have to do is you have to take that information that they gave you and you have to draw different walls in the program, and these walls have to be as accurate as you can get them when it comes to, you know, that particular location. And each wall has a different level of attenuation, basically determines how much signal strength can successfully pass through that wall. So for instance, drywall has a 3 decibel attenuation, and wireless signal, for anybody that don't know, is measured in decibels. Okay, and there's a whole section behind it when it comes to wireless, and that's not something that I can explain in 10 minutes. Oh, I mean, I could, but that would literally be the whole video. So there's a whole way of measurement when it comes to wireless, and you know, these attenuation levels is basically how much signal gets blocked or lost when passing through these particular walls or doors. And so I'll give you guys a quick rundown. So for instance, 3 decibels. So when it comes to signal strength, plus or minus 3 decibels mean double or half. So if your propagating signal, or if your TX power on your AP is 20 decibels, if you were to take 3 decibels away from that, or if it was minus 3 decibels for whatever reason, like let's say it's going through a wall that's a drywall that has 3 decibels, that means that by the time that signal gets to the other side of that wall, it'll be half of whatever power it was on the side before it went through. So that's just to give you guys a frame of reference. You usually go by 10 decibels and 3 decibels. 3 decibels is double or it's half, and 10 decibels is either 10 times more or 10 times less. So we can talk about that later on if you guys are curious. But anyways, you would draw these walls in, and you'll make sure that these walls are as accurate as you can get them when it comes to where they're actually placed at on the map. You know, like I said, drywall has a 3 decibel attenuation. Concrete has a 12 decibel attenuation, if I'm not mistaken. Cinder block has 5 decibels, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, the point is you have to make sure that these are as accurate as possible, because when you place your APs in this program and try to predict how the signal is going to propagate, those walls are going to determine how that signal is going to be on the opposite end of that wall. And you know, the closer you get your predictive survey to being accurate, the easier the rest of the process will be. You know, so after you get these walls drawn in, what you're gonna do is you're gonna, of course, look and see exactly where it'd be best to place these APs. Now, best practice: do not place APs in hallways. Make sure you always place them in rooms, because the way that the signal propagates can be a little weird, and you could, you know, be wasting an AP by trying to pull it in the hallway in order to get signal somewhere. But anyways, so you'll put these APs in these particular locations, and then what you will do is you'd be done. So you'd have the walls drawn in, you would draw in the required areas that need wireless access service. You can also draw in the areas that don't need it. You can also draw in floors and put index points when it comes to the different floors, and that's a whole topic in itself. I would literally have to do a video in EconHow in order to show you everything that I'm talking about. But these are all the things that you would keep in mind when it comes to the predictive survey. So from there, what you're going to do is you're going to be like, all right, it's time to schedule a passive survey. Now, a passive survey, you would actually go to this particular location, and what you would do is you would go there and you would take a list of networking equipment with you. You would need to take a few things, a few wireless things with you in order to conduct the passive survey. Fortunately, it's all that stuff that I showed you guys in the previous short. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get some of that stuff set up so that you guys can actually get a visual representation of what it's like to conduct a passive survey and get things rolling. So let's roll. All right, good deal. So the wireless stand is set up. We got the AP going. So essentially what the things you would need in order to conduct a passive site survey effectively is, of course, you would need, your standalone or your laptop, whatever it is that has either EconHow Pro or has the EconHow Analyzer on it. You would also need a power supply for your AP, which would probably be like a portable battery of some kind. You would also need the Wi-Fi stand, you would need the access point itself, and the last and most important thing that you would need in order to accurately take these measurements is a spectrum analyzer, or as they used to say in the military, a spec Annie. That's one of the funniest words I've ever heard. Anyways, this thing right here is your bread and butter. This is a spectrum analyzer. This can be used for quite a few things. You could use this during the passive and active phase of site surveys. So what you'll do is, after you get the AP set up, what you'll do is you'll put it in the locations of the access points that you had put on the predictive survey. And what you're going to do is you're going to power on this thing and connect it to your computer that has EconHow Pro on it. And what you're going to do is you're going to walk around the vicinity of that room, and you're going to take readings at multiple locations. There's a couple of different ways you can do it. You can take it by just pressing exactly where you are in EconHow Pro, and it'll take measurements there. It has to be exactly where you are in the program in order for it to take an accurate measurement. That's called a stop and go method. Or you could do a continuous method where you just walk, and the only time you tap the screen is when you make turns or anything along those lines. That spectrum analyzer has two wireless radios in it, and it measures both the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band. Now, as I said before, there's a couple of differences between the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz. We can get into that later. I'll talk a little bit more about that when it comes to channel interference later on, after you finish this passive survey. But anyways, so what you would do is you would use that spectrum analyzer to measure the signal strength of your test AP, and you're going to see if the signal is close or the same than what you predicted in the predictive survey. Now, there are certain things that you have to take into account when it comes to conducting a passive survey, because one thing that you don't know when doing the predictive survey is, what's actually there. You don't know if there's any, if there's a kitchen that has like cordless phones in it, or microwaves, or you don't know if the elevator could potentially cause any kind of issues or any kind of interference. In a hospital, if there's like patient rooms that have x-ray machines or anything along those lines, those could cause issues on the 5 gigahertz band. So these are things that you see and you take note when you go to actually perform the passive site survey. So anyways, what you would do is you would walk around all of these areas, and you would check the signal of the areas that you predicted the APs would be best placed. And then after that, you would compare it to your predictive survey, and you would make adjustments. The most important things that you would need to pay attention to when it comes to developing and designing this site survey report is you need to make sure that the signal strength is good when it comes to your access points. They're in a place that's not going to hinder or cause any kind of complications when it comes to the signal. You also have to make sure that the secondary signal is also good. The secondary signal is the signal that a neighboring AP has. Let's say that there's an AP right here, and there's an AP right here. So the secondary strength of this AP is the energy that this AP propagates. So for whatever reason, if this one goes down, this AP will still have that secondary strength covering some, of course not all, some of that area where this AP went down. So secondary strength is also another thing that you need to be mindful of. You need to make sure that there is not going to be any cold channel interference. And so that is important when it comes to mainly when it comes to the 2.4 gigahertz band, because everybody that knows wireless knows that there are things that you have to avoid in the 2.4 gigahertz band, and it is channel overlap. There are three channels that you can use. There are three channels that you can use to prevent channel overlap when it comes to neighboring APs, and that's channel 1, 6, and 11. There's, if I'm not mistaken, it's about 14 channels in the 2.4 gigahertz band, but those are the channels that you should focus on most when it comes to designing a wireless LAN. So one thing you have to do while comparing is you have to make sure that there is no co-channel interference. There is not APs around each other that are going to be on the same channel, because what that's going to do is create collisions and cause people to call you like, hey, help desk, the internet's down, when in all actuality it's just two APs being on the same channel. That's one thing that you got to be mindful of. You also have to be mindful of the signal to noise ratio, which essentially is the gap between the signal strength and the noise floor. You want there to be at least, I'll say between 20 and 25, 25 being the preferred signal to noise ratio, but 20 isn't bad. The best practice is having 25 dB signal to noise ratio when it comes to wireless access points. And that's something that you definitely have to be mindful of, because if that gap gets too close when it comes to the signal strength and the noise floor, then you're gonna start getting some drop packets and some data retransmission problems. That's just gonna cause the phone to ring even more, which is what you don't want. Another thing that you want to be mindful of is the channel utilization when it comes to the wireless network that you're designing. You want it to where none of these channels are being overutilized or anything along those lines, where it's taking a long time for a client and an AP to talk back and forth with one another and holding up all the traffic, and then before you know it, phone starts ringing. All of these details you have to iron out after you do the passive survey, so that when it's time to, make the survey report, then all of the you circle all your dots, you cross all your T's, and you'll have at least a 90% good to go wireless network design when it comes to presenting that report to that customer. To be completely honest, all this stuff is really fun. It's very hands-on, which is something that I told you guys that I've been trying to get over the course of the last 6 months to a year. I am diving deeper and deeper down the wireless rabbit hole. Of course, I'm not talking about all these topics to a T. I'm just literally trying to get it out as fast as possible so that the video isn't 25 to 30 minutes long. But these are the things that you would have to do when it comes to conducting a site survey. Now, an active site survey, that's where everything gets installed, the APs are in place, and for certain areas, like let's say it's a warehouse or a hospital, what you'll have to do is you'll come and have to do a post-deployment survey to see, to check the throughput of the APs and make sure that there are no issues when it comes to either, channel utilization or interference, or not, or either 802.11 interference or non-Wi-Fi interference, like X-rays and microwaves and cordless phones and Bluetooth and all of that other nonsense. But I haven't really done active surveys very much yet, because we've still been just rocking and rolling and kicking out all of these reports to all of our different customers. But once I start doing those, then I'll fill you guys in when it comes to that. All in all, these are some of the things that I'm doing when it comes to being a wireless admin / engineer. Now, some of the stuff I didn't cover because, of course, I don't have access to those platforms, but after you get everything installed and all your surveys are good to go, everybody's cheering, you would of course have to get these APs configured on the wireless LAN controller that's at that site, or you have to, of course, determine exactly if there is one at that site already. There probably wouldn't be. Of course, if they don't have wireless, there wouldn't be. But you, of course, have to get everything configured when it comes to the wireless LAN controller, and make sure you dot all your T's and cross all your I's, and create all the AP groups that's needed, if those are needed, and everything along those lines. If I were to get access to those things again, I'll talk to you more about that. But this is the core of what I do as a network admin. Me and my team do design, we configure, and we maintain, and we upgrade, which is a whole lot of fun. And believe it or not, all of this occurs at layer 1 and 2 of the OSI model. So the physical link and the data link is where all of this is occurring. Networking doesn't necessarily come into the mix yet. This is all layer 1 and layer 2, which is interesting. I didn't really know that or realize that until after, of course, I got in the weeds and I started studying for this stuff. So that's cool. Networking usually comes into the play after that. You have to make sure that there's routes that go to that particular location from the data center. If there is one, you have to make sure that the wireless LAN controller has connectivity and visibility. When it comes to the APs, you have to make sure that you have this proper security in place, 802.11 and all that other cool stuff on a wireless LAN controller. All of that has to do with configuration after everything's installed. And we can go over that at another time. But for the most part, this is what I usually do on a day-to-day basis. Routing and switching is still, of course, the name of the game, and it all still matters when it comes to this. But this is why this is an area on its own, because it requires a lot of thinking, calculating, designing, healthy predictions, surveys, reports, collective efforts, collaborations with different teams, and it's really fun. And I think that I am definitely going to take it a lot more serious from this point forward. Well, not even from this point forward, but I'm definitely going to take it a lot more serious from now on, because I've kind of fallen in love with it the same way that I've fallen in love with networking a few years back. But when it comes to that, that's all I got for you guys today. If you got any questions when it comes to site surveys, if you're interested in any topics, if there's something that you want me to make as far as content when it comes to wireless, let me know. Quick side note. So, as you guys know, I did pass the Ekenhow training, and I am certified when it comes to designing wireless LANs and all that good stuff. But good news, and there is bad news. So, the bad news is I took the CCNP wireless design certification, and I failed it. I know, don't judge me. Do not judge me. But it has been a long, month and a half to 2 months. I've been doing a lot of stuff, and to be completely honest, man, I dropped the ball a little bit when it came to studying. I studied as much as I could with the time that I had. I was tired of pushing it back, and I was like, screw it, we're gonna take it. One of the engineers that I work alongside, he was like, look, man, just take it, and if you don't pass, hold what you got. Understand the areas where you're weak and hit it again, but of course, I didn't want to spend $300 on a certification and then have to, of course, spend another $300 in order to pass it. But you roll with your punches. Nobody's immune to failure, and we all got to take our lumps and run into a couple of walls every now and then. But anyways, it's crazy, because after failing it really motivated me to like study. And one of the really irritating things about this is that, as I told you guys before, there's not a lot of content when it comes to studying for this. There is books, and there's a couple of practice tests that you can take on Udemy. And I didn't even bother with those because I was told that they weren't even close to what you would likely see on the test. No shots to y'all, that's just what I've heard. But literally, the day before I took the test, guess what happened? CBT Nuggets released a full course on the entire exam that I took. They put 37 hours worth of valuable content that would definitely have helped me pass on CBT Nuggets the day before I took the test. And I didn't realize until the day after. So I'm going to be digging into that over the course of the next 2 weeks in order to try and refocus. But anyways, how you guys doing when it comes to certifications? Have you guys taken anything? I know there's a couple of people on my page, man, that have been rocking it out, man. One of my followers just got his CCNA, man. I'm super proud of that dude. I believe his name was Nicholas, man. Rocking it out, just passed and got his CCNA, man. He let me know in one of the comment sections of one of my videos. Congratulations to you, dude. You're on the path to do some amazing things, and let me know how things are going. If anybody else is taking your CCNA or you're taking some sort of certification and you pass, please let me know in my comment sections, because I'll shout you out as well. And I'll talk to you personally and tell you that you're doing an amazing job. If it's something that I'm not familiar with, I'll ask you a couple of questions. We can go from there. You guys gotta excuse me, because like I told you before, I've been stressing out a lot over the course of the last couple of months, but I think I've finally gotten to a good place to where I can consistently push content. So that's what we're gonna do. Outside of that, that is all I got for you guys. Stay tuned, I'll tell you when I'll take the certification again. With that being said, stay safe, stay positive, learn everything, do some networking, and get the gains. I ain't got no shirt on today so you can see the muscles. Oh yeah. I still got some weight to lose though, so don't judge me.